Server restart in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Server Restart In. It's a World of Warcraft podcast where three opinionated players talk about their thoughts and ideas about the game. My name's Jim. I'm joined by Kristen.
Hi.
And Brian.
Hello.
And today we're going to go ahead and change it up a little bit. We're going to talk about some stuff outside of the game, but that directly impacts it. And then a few other things. So currently there is a thing where Twitch used to own Curseforge. Curseforge is one of the primary repositories for World of Warcraft add-ons. I believe Blizzard has some stuff set up to where, or some rules or terms of service or whatever, that people that create add-ons cannot profit from them. Correct? Like, you can't make an add-on and sell it. They have to be free of charge or something along those lines. I don't know about...
Sounds about right.
And then Twitch sold Curseforge to Overwolf, which is a completely different topic. Overwolf has been in the past a very
invasive.
Yeah, their stuff isn't necessarily the best as far as like their programs tend to have a bit of bloatware in it. You know, I don't know. I tried using them. I used to use it was a post-processing thing called SweetFX. It was used to run some post-processing effects on your game client, and I used it for Guild Wars 2. I wanted some sharpening and some color gradient changes or whatever that I ran. And eventually, there were different ways to apply it, and one of them ended up being Overwolf, and it never really worked right. And I was using it on WoW for a while too, and then I stopped using it. We got new computers, new hard drives, and then trying to re-add it and get it to work never really worked right. And so I, went down the Overwolf thing, and you had to download this whole thing to be able to apply it. And a lot of the issues stemmed from it not supporting DirectX 12, not Overwolf, the SweetFX thing. And eventually I just gave up because our Radeon cards have a built-in screen sharpening thing, which gave me what I wanted. So I just dropped using it. And I've never had a need to do anything with Overwolf again until they bought Curseforge. So they were taking over all the add-ons from Curseforge and whatnot. And it's not just World of Warcraft, it's Minecraft, it's ESO. There's a multitude of games that use Curseforge to distribute their add-ons for PC. Overwolf has stated that their Curseforge app will run ads and all that stuff, or you can get like an upgraded version that's ad-free, but that I want to say the number was something like 70% of the ad revenue is going to go to the creators of the add-ons, right? But then you have other people that are coming along wanting to create other types of add-on managers, and there was one that came up that, Brian and I have kind of followed a little bit. I know you've read some of their stuff on their Patreon. They were using an API, and then we talked about this in an earlier podcast. They were using an API that was exposed that allowed them to get at the Curseforge stuff to enable them to download and do the versioning and all that kind of stuff. And recently, they're in talks with Overwolf, trying to sort it out. Overwolf's like, look, you got to stop using it. It's our API. It shouldn't be exposed to the public, kind of thing. But you made mention that this developer or developers on their Patreon had made something like, what is it, like $1,500, $15,000? I don't know. They made some amount of money.
It's like $1,500 a month right now.
Which they're not they don't technically develop an add-on for WoW, but they're profiting indirectly off of World of Warcraft. And then, we talked about that briefly, and then we talked about the topic came up about the ad revenue stuff going to pay creators for these add-ons, and where does that fall in, as far as Blizzard and all them are concerned, so, I mean, I don't know, do you think that they should make some sort of monetary compensation for the time they put into this? Do you think that, well, I mean, the terms of service explicitly state you can't monetize it, so, I mean, are they monetizing it, or are they, I mean, they're benefiting.
So the add-on creators themselves, I think, to a certain extent, as long as it's within the confines or constraints of the actual system itself, right? The game provides an API from not only the engine but the user interface as well. So as long as that's exposed, right, and those have constraints, you can only do so many things with what you're given, and they do deprecate APIs fairly often, so that if they don't want people using them, they'll stop them, right? They'll take the API out. So I think since that's there, and yeah, some of this stuff has gotten to the point where, like DBM, Daily Boss Mods, has been around forever. There's a huge amount of work that goes into that to supply that to WoW players, right? And to be honest with you, at this point, like a lot of what keeps people coming back is because of the helpfulness of these add-ons to their gameplay. So I don't think that they should be able to sell them outright. And if they do, Blizzard would be stupid not to implement something themselves in a helpful system so that they can scrape off the top and then provide developers with a fantastic environment to develop in. But on the other hand, I think Overwolf is complete bullshit, because they might be slightly a repository. For the most part, they are simply a middle layer for, and they're scalpers. There's a lot of type of services in this world that are just like this, where resellers. You got it's funny because when we were in the flower shop business once upon a time, we had a big issue with this as well, because the internet, buying flowers on the internet, didn't evolve as quickly for the small business as it did for the internet companies. So you had internet companies that were straight up reselling. Yeah, and you would, in the small business, gets almost no profit from it at all, right? They just keep the lights on. Same way here, like Overwolf just created a client, and then they're redirecting the repositories from GitHub and other places. Even WoW Interface, I believe, has a Git system that they are interfacing with to provide that to their client. So at this point, like Curseforge itself
Wait. You're saying Overwolf has access to or supports like the other WoW add-on repositories other than Curseforge? Or does the other one?
Well, Curseforge, Overwolf, Curseforge being the same thing,
mm-hmm.
They have interfaces back to the sources. The sources are not. It may be a little bit Curseforge, I'm not actually sure, but a lot of it is not. A lot of the popular ones have gone to GitHub. Some do live on WoW Interface, I believe.
See, I didn't.
I think there's another one. I'm not sure.
I didn't know Curseforge linked back to those other repositories. I thought all the ones that they did were just straight from.
Yeah, I don't think they all do, but they do link back to source repositories. And if they don't link back directly, they probably cache a copy or something like that, kind of like a proxy. But even still, like if you see an opportunity in a world where people aren't supposed to make money, you see an opportunity to help developers make money, and now you're trying to leverage that argument, right? Like these add-on managers, so before getting into them making money, right? Overwolf thinks that they shouldn't be doing that because they didn't lock down their API because they're idiots. So now they have people bypassing their product, which is the one that's driving ad revenue and generating income for these developers, right? But at the same time, like, they're making money off of this when they're almost doing nothing at all.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I don't know, it seems like it's a double-edged sword for the most part, because when you get down the line, like WoW.io, WoWup.io, whatever, I don't know, I haven't looked at that project in a while on their Discord, but if the dude is making money off Patreon, well, now he's open source, so he has contributors. People are actually developing code for it as well, other than him. So if that's the case, and he's making money on that, not dispersing that out, oh well, here we go again. Here's another kind of nasty situation. So
I don't.
I'm not. It's really hard to understand how to think about it because I don't think it's something that Blizzard should get into. I think it'd be cool for the developers. From a developer perspective, I think it would be really awesome if they provided a system where you could develop for World of Warcraft and make a little bit of money off of it, or whatever it may be.
Or
right?
make
Because
tips.
at the end of the day, it is giving players value, and that
Right.
value is retaining them into the system. Right? It's helping Blizzard make money. So I don't think Curseforge in general is a bad idea. Right? To be able to monetize a website, give you a client that allows you to manage your add-ons easier. Not that it's hard, but for a lot of people it's foreign, is great, right? But 70%, like, like if you're not setting up a complete hosting system, right, for the world of add-ons, and you're just providing a
World
proxy,
of add-ons.
at that point, why are you know what I mean? Like, why are you taking that much? You're taking Apple level. No, Apple hasn't even changed theirs. Apple's app developer used to be 30%, I think, and they've dropped it down to a tiered system at this point. So I don't know. I kind of go both ways in this argument because I think for one, WoW should have its own kind of add-on manager
Right.
because they're just zipped files.
Yeah.
So you should just be able to plop in a URL and, you know what I mean, manage it that
Well,
way.
I think it should be kind of like Steam has this, right? You have the Steam workshop.
Oh yeah.
So and I believe people that do those types of add-ons on Steam for those games are able to receive tips or donations, right? You can. There's no cost for these things, but you can. Well,
You can
some
do
of them.
that.
Some of them are, I think.
Yeah.
There are a lot of pages on GitHub too that have donations set up for the specific projects, but you know what I mean? Like if that's that level is probably a lot more foreign to a lot of people.
Right.
Like
playing the game.
like Nexus Mods has that tip thing where like mods for like Skyrim and shit like that, right? So the add-on creators put their stuff up there and they have a system in there where you can, donate to the add-on developers. Or give them tips or whatever, but it's not actually directly from the games themselves. It's just
Right.
through that site.
I don't think the games themselves should do it. I don't think that developing add-ons should be a main source of income for people. Because I don't think that you should make I don't think you should make a living off of making stuff for somebody else's game, right? That's not your intellectual property, and I'm sure that there's all these different EULAs and terms of service and all that stuff, or anything that you do create using, and this is the shit that bit Blizzard in the ass with Dota, right? Defense of the Agents or whatever was a fan created map for, was it Warcraft 3?
Mm-hmm. No, 2.
Frozen
Yeah,
Throne,
3,
right?
3. Yeah, it was 3.
And they made that map, and then that turned into Dota, which eventually became League of Legends, right? Isn't that kind of how that stuff, like the whole MOBA thing, came from that? And Blizzard got screwed out of that because they used their assets, their IP, and all that stuff to create that, and it spawned this thing. Now, that really just gave the people that developed it probably a jump or a head start because they didn't have to necessarily develop the assets immediately, so they could work on developing the core functionality and concept of the game. But that's why when World of Warcraft 3 Reforged came out, or not Warcraft 3 Reforged came out, they had those clauses in it. Anything that you make in the game with the map builder is Blizzard's. Plain and simple. And it kind of makes sense. So making a profit for developing something for somebody else's game, I don't think that it's very
I'm
gray.
I'm gonna agree just because like I think that you should not be able to sell anything. I'm sorry. Unless Blizzard comes up with a system where they allow you to do that, which for one, I would never buy any of it. If I couldn't get it for free, I just wouldn't buy it, right? I
Right.
think it would be a faulty system. On the other hand, if people donating to projects like that, kind of like open source software is done in general, where people will have ways to tip or support or whatever, I think that's fine as long as it's dispersed in an evenly fashion and it's not somebody taking advantage of the
Yeah,
system.
like one
And I think
person
that's where-
controlling all the tips as opposed to like everybody that's contributed not getting a cut kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the hard part with open source.
Well, I mean, and I would think that if it's common knowledge that that dude is making $1,500 a month on Patreon, which is basically getting tips and donations, I would think that the people who were working with him or her or whoever it is would be like, either they'd be like, hey, we deserve some of that money too, or they'd just stop working with them, right? I mean, if you're not getting compensated for your time and somebody else is, you would just be like, well, see ya.
Well, yeah. I mean,
why would I stay and develop this when you're making all the money for it?
and that's on the individuals involved in it as well.
Right.
They need to be aware of that kind of stuff. And if it's public knowledge like this is he keeping it all himself? Is he dispersing it? We don't know. We don't have any insight on that.
Right.
But it's not to say that there's people that are part of his inner circle that were all part of the initial thing developing it, I'm sure. But then when you go open source, anybody can, fork a branch off of it, make changes, and request to put it back in. And so how do you take into account just some random guy that just added like a little feature to it or something like that? Do they deserve it? I mean, they did work. You took it in and you're using it, but and it's just it's hard. It's hard when you have something that's open source like that, and it's a big conundrum. It really is.
Yeah.
And it's just it's not an easy thing to solve, and it's really hard when you start getting into intellectual property and copyright issues and patents and all that other stuff, trademarks. It's just all that stuff is just out there. It's like there's differences with licensing using certain. It's the same thing with like Twitch and streaming and like all the DMCA stuff. It's like the music industry is starting to crack down on that stuff because these people are making money using copyrighted material, and sure, maybe it's not the main focus of their stuff, but I mean, it's just even radio stations have to pay license fees to play songs on the air, and it's just like you're essentially doing the same thing on the internet, and you're making all this money, but you're not paying licensing fees. And it's easy to look at like the recording industry and the music industry because it is ridiculous. That industry is got a lot of corruption in it, and a lot of artists don't even see anything. It's like the record labels are the ones that tend to make all the money and all that stuff, which is why you have a lot more people doing their own thing, doing solo releases, doing SoundCloud releases and all that stuff. But then they get screwed because they don't have anybody to back them up when other people just grab their song and throw it in a video kind of thing. It's like, so that's another thing that's it's similar and kind of different, but it's just there's just a lot out there, and with the digital age being what it is, it's not, the internet's still the Wild West with that kind of shit, and it's really hard to figure out how to handle it in an effective way. So yeah, that was a fun conversation. We could sit here and talk about this shit all goddamn night, but I don't think people want to hear all about that. So let's just go ahead and switch gears and get back into the actual game now. So recently there have been some changes to Torghast, right? There's been they changed a bunch of powers for a lot of different classes. Like the benefits that you got from them, the how many times they stack, all that kind of stuff. There was a lot of that. They adjusted. Mobs have more health if you're a solo healer, and they
have more health if you're a solo healer.
Yes, they adjusted it so that you have that there's a little bit more health for solo healers. They do more damage if you're a tank, more physical damage for tanks. They adjusted some of the AoE damage for groups, and they've also since then adjusted the scaling of all that stuff for groups as well. I think there was an issue where prop pallies could just go in and just laugh at everything and it would die.
I mean, yes, I will 100% agree with that, because I have gone in a couple of times with even not even prop paladins, just a paladin in particular, and I pretty much just stood back and let him kill everything because he just he was wrecking everything.
This was more for the solo stuff. Like prop pallies were like solo gods, and I think healers, they could, even though the mobs.
God, take them forever though, didn't it?
Healers?
Yeah.
Well,
are they doing significant damage enough to?
The mobs had,
I guess if you could heal yourself, then you get all the buffs for damage.
Yeah.
The scaling for the health, I think, was off a little bit. So some of the mobs had too low health, so they weren't presenting a challenge, right? But they've also done some stuff with group dynamics, so that it scales better. They've changed the way or how many powers drop. We did a layer 7 the other night, and by the end of the second floor, we had 20-something powers.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Every mob was dropping powers. What is going on?
And it was amazing. Rare mobs now always drop at least 3 powers instead of 2, which is good because some of the powers are kind of so now you have a third choice, which hopefully means you got a good one. Yeah, so we did a 7, which was a joke, and then we went and did the 8 and got just trash powers and not nearly as many, and it still wasn't bad.
Yeah.
So there was an article Polygon did with Ian Hazakassis from yesterday on the 17th, and he was talking, it's they're looking at how it's working, they're looking at just the sheer amount of people that are doing it, and just it's more than I guess they anticipated, which doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense because that's how you get your legendaries. So why would they think that people aren't gonna go in there to get their legendaries? You know what I mean? I don't understand that at all.
I don't think it's just people doing it and then getting their soul action being done. I think people are continually just going in and doing it and doing it and doing it. There's probably a lot more repeat in there, but they wanted to adjust it so that it didn't quite take as long because and he specifically said it's look, we understand if you go in there and you get an hour in and then you die and you have to do it all over again, that's not fun.
No.
So they're trying to adjust the health and the scaling. There were some issues where I think one layer was supposed to be equal to a mythic or a normal dungeon, then a heroic dungeon, and so on. And the way it's scaled, at the end, it was going to be a mythic 14 kind of thing, which I think that might have been too far out of reach for people, right?
Well, right now.
Well,
because
right,
but maybe towards the middle of the X pack.
Well, that's their fault for
the
not
end.
walking people into it better.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, and
they shouldn't have released. They shouldn't have released. Well, I guess it was what it went 3. Then 6,
then 8,
then
8, right?
Yeah.
And next week I think heroic opens up because this is only the normal or whatever, right? So there's a heroic version 2 that is gonna come out.
There is?
Yeah. There's they got a whole bunch of stuff planned for it. I mean, there's gonna be because eventually you're gonna get to the point where it is the endless levels where you go into one thing and it's just that's all you got. You just keep going and going and going till you can't anymore. But they adjust the scales. I think it ended up that they said like a layer 8 now is equivalent to what a layer 6 was the other day,
Yeah,
a couple days ago, which I think we did a 6, and it was long and rough, but it wasn't impossible.
Oh, it wasn't. Oh, before the nerf.
Before the nerf.
Yeah. It was. I mean,
the 7 was bad.
Your
As soon
7
as-
was bad when you
as soon
did
as-
it.
oh,
As soon as Tuesday dropped and I got into a 7, I cried. What? I was on floor 2 when I was talking about that. Yeah, I didn't get to the. I didn't even get to the vendor.
was that before the
It
nerf?
was so bad.
Oh, okay.
Because the nerf
Yeah.
was yesterday.
Oh, when did we do
Yeah.
our?
Yesterday.
Oh, we just
No,
we
it
hadn't
was
done
bad.
them yet.
I-
Okay.
I was pulling one mob at a time, and it was
okay.
rough. It was really, really rough.
Yeah, I just
So,
leveled my shaman, my resto shaman. He's 60 now, got the covenant. And I just did my first Torghast run. I did layer 1. And it was all right. You know, I didn't feel like I was ever in danger of dying. None of the floor bosses or the end boss were really any difficult. I did get enough stuff to get my Earth Elemental on a 1-minute cooldown, and he lasts for a minute. So it was just,
well, that's awesome.
oh yeah, it's just cycling through Earth Elementals, which helped towards the end, you know, and it was chain lightning, just blowing stuff up. I went Revendreth, so I have the Chain Harvest, which does a shit ton of damage to mobs and bounces around. So that's really fun. You know, but it wasn't bad. You know, I went through and did that, so I'm going to start doing that a little bit just to kind of...
Well, I can attest that the changes are, in my opinion, really good changes. So
Oh yeah.
I didn't feel like that I went through. I didn't finish 6 last week. I did 6 this week. Did 7, and I opened up 8. I haven't done 8 yet, but both runs. I think one run I almost died completely on the final boss because he was a caster that dropped puddles that hit for like a third of my health,
Ooh,
and
that sucks.
yeah, he got me down to 0, and I went and did it again. I'm like, okay, I finally figured it out, and barely killed him. So did that. I did the 7. The 7 was simple because I got really good powers. I stacked crit mastery and versatility, and I got there's a power, a blue power to get execute all the time. Yep. So I was critting for 51k.
Holy shit.
Yep. So
51k or 5100?
51,000 damage.
Dang.
That's like
Yep.
one-shotting shit.
And I had the thing called the rage mote where my rage doesn't go down for like
Wow.
a minute and a half. Yep. So I went to the final boss and boom, 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 and he was dead.
Nice.
But no, it was incredible. It was fun too, but it was still a little bit challenging. I died a few times.
Well,
I pulled too many mobs a couple times because I
yeah.
assumed, and it felt good. I got to the end and I finished the first time through. It still took about 45 minutes by myself, and I didn't feel like my time was wasted. But I really, really, really would love to sit and run Torghast more often, but I
But
just can't.
is it because there's nothing you get out of it?
I mean, maybe I'll go into the companion, because apparently there's a bajillion companions.
We finally got Meatball.
We did.
We finally got
Nice.
Meatball on our
Finally.
last one the other day.
I have Meatball at like level 20 finally, I think.
Oh my
Jesus.
god.
Like, I think my highest one is like 17.
Yeah, mine is too.
I'm trying
I'm
to
at
just...
24, I think, right now.
Oh, I hate you.
Oh, well, no, I failed the other night. I failed bad. I dropped 5 on a rare mission, and that failed. And they all were at like 0%.
They-
Everybody cost 350 anima.
Oh, is that why you're
To-
saying you needed like 2,000 anima to heal them?
Yeah, that's why I logged out immediately.
Did they regain?
They regenerate their health over time, but yeah.
Okay. Because I was
I'm like,
wondering about
well,
that because I haven't had
I'm
to
not
heal
doing that again.
mine I
Well,
haven't had to heal mine
when they
once.
level, they automatically heal up.
Oh,
So
okay, that's why.
if they get low and you can throw them on an easy mission, if they're gonna level, then they'll
Right.
heal up, or maybe one of the other characters in there will heal them up throughout the thing, kind of.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
as you get higher, you're not gonna have those low missions for them to do. So it's like, okay, well, is it worth it to wait? How long is it gonna take?
Oh
for them
no,
to
you
heal?
will. You will. You'll still. Now maybe it's because I still have lower level guys down. Because I think the lowest I have is 19. But I still
Jesus.
get lower than that for missions. So.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure necessarily how it works.
But that wasn't my point though. I will say that I am happy you get stuff like that in Torghast, but it's just like what really bites me is that the fact that you can solo it, right?
Right.
And then, but you can't get like a piece of gear out of it. Why not let it drop a heroic or a normal dungeon piece of gear and have it scale in some range, right? If I can get a piece of gear off the fucking mission table, why can't I get one piece of gear after running something for 45 minutes?
I think it's because they don't want people to use it as a gear farm, right? And
But if you spend 45 minutes in this place,
people,
okay,
I mean,
and you can instead go to and do a world quest and get the same item.
I don't know. They have their reasons, they have their thoughts. Maybe eventually something will.
I know.
Maybe some of the future wings, because twisting corridors are going to come out at some point, and those are, I think it's going to be like a one-time thing to get a cosmetic, and I think it's like 18 floors or something like that. I'd have to look at that, but like, so you would get a cosmetic item from it, and I think you would only get it once. But if they're going to eventually have something where you can go in and get cosmetic pieces of gear, get pets or something like that.
Well, hell, even think about islands. Think about islands and the quests that you get to do.
I think there's a mount you can get.
That's right, power artifact, whatever it was.
AP. AP.
You know what I mean? They're like
Stygia. It's AP.
I don't. I haven't gotten anything like nowhere near to the scale. If there's anything that I can't recall right now, it definitely wasn't to the scale of even like islands. And islands that was great. Islands were fun enough to go in and mulch at the very end of the expansion, and you still got something kind of back for it, right? Even the currency to buy shit with, like it just, it's like there's just that little bit missing because I don't. Great legendary stuff. Okay, I'm gonna be able to build a legendary one day. I'm already to the point where I can get almost a rank 2 legendary again.
Right.
Like if I,
it could
because
be...
I'm gonna switch. I'm getting ready to switch because I'm getting ready to get another memory that I'm actually should be using instead. But
I think it could be because they don't necessarily want right now people to be focused on getting other things. Right. They just want to slowly introduce Torghast and like, this is the way it's going to work, get used to it, and that kind of thing. And then maybe as it goes on, work on letting it have more rewards as you go on. I think it's a controlled thing right now.
I think I totally agree with you. And then I could see it's the Blizzard way, but I think they're missing a ginormous opportunity to pull in the single player focused player base. Because whether they like it or not, that exists, and it's a large player base. Okay, and
sure,
75% of my WoW experience is that player base. So
it's because you don't talk to me.
Well, my point is though, like it's there and it's not going anywhere, right? Because I do want to be a part of a world where people persist and do things,
right?
But I also want to do my own thing, like, you know what I mean? I don't want to go play Skyrim. I'm done with Skyrim.
What are you talking about? It's
but
only like 15 years old.
If there were people
Is it really?
in Skyrim, I might go ahead and play.
When did Skyrim come out?
15?
2011.
No.
Yep.
So, okay, almost 10.
Gee, okay. I was like, oh my god.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yep. 11/11/11 is when it came out.
Right.
Anyway, we don't care about Skyrim. We're done with Skyrim. But yeah, so I get what you're saying. You know, it's just, and hopefully they do have plans for Torghast to make it more lucrative, right? Right now, I can understand it not being so because they don't want necessarily people to go there and spam and then overpowered because like they got the world first race going on right now, and it's like giving people that much. I don't know. It's just a control right now, I'm sure, and eventually it's gonna be probably better.
Hell, even drop just 35 anima. Come on.
Oh, you mean
If
like
you're gonna
every
drop
freaking
35 anima
Yeah.
from the normal bosses, then
I really feel like the bosses should have more anima.
I mean, even just 70, right?
I mean,
just something more than
especially
a
like
rare.
the mythic ones where you just have to
Oh,
where you can
God,
only
yeah.
kill it once a week. Not even the mythic pluses, but just the regular mythic that you can only kill once a week and get a drop from. You know what I mean? Feels like you should have like 250 anima from the end boss or something.
yeah,
Like
something worthwhile. Because man,
Yeah.
it's just like I don't expect to always get something, and that's fine. But if you go back and think about the days before personal loot was a thing,
yeah.
it was very rewarding to be a part of a group where you saw the loot from a boss. Okay, and then even though if you didn't get anything, you were still a part of that. And hell, even bosses like many moons ago, they drop more than just gear. I mean, even just garbage or schematics or recipes, all that junk, right? Like there's not enough of that sprinkled out throughout the world, and it sucks. And like Torghast specifically, in my opinion, Torghast would have been a great opportunity for that. And
Well,
I don't know. I'm
no,
not gonna say like they're doing the right or wrong thing. I'm just saying that it seems like a great opportunity, and I would love to sit and play it more than once. But honestly, like I'm probably not even gonna play level 8 this week because I don't need 80 more ash right now. So
yeah, but it'll unlock the next things for next week, right? So then you don't have to grind your way up.
Mm.
I'll play it next week.
Yeah, but then you have to do multiple layers. Whereas if I don't know to get up to that level, but I don't know. I think the way that they've handled Shadowlands and the way that they are seemingly actually listening to feedback and whatnot and making changes accordingly.
Yeah.
They didn't have to make changes to Torghast. They could have just left it and say, if you
It is
can't
what it
do
is.
it,
Yeah.
you need to go out into the world and power up.
Well, they don't want to hear me whining about it the whole time.
It's
So
well, yeah. I'm sure that they got a bug in your house listening to you just go, God damn motherfucker.
no, they don't. But there's about probably a million of me out there whining about it too.
Right, and you say, okay, yeah, maybe you're getting along the lines of the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? You take care of the loudest whiners or whatever. But I mean, people aren't whining about it because they can't do it and it's an okay system. They're whining about it because it's kind of tuned weird, and so they're adjusting it. It's not. They're not just trying to appease people. I think that these people have legitimate concerns, and they're taking that feedback and iterating on it. And like the whole soulbind and what are the things you put in conduits, the whole conduit system, right? It was going to be a week-long reset to cool down, to reset them, right? That was the way it was going to be, and people complained about it, and they didn't really want it to be free and open, like anytime you're in a rest area, you just swap it out. They wanted there to be some weight to that decision when you chose to change it, so they put in the charge system. Now, I've never run out of charges. Now, granted, we're only like row 5 now, right? So there's like only like 3 or 4 that you can even change out. And you can go out, and there's still so many to get, you can always rebuild your charges up. So it's not a resource that's necessarily scarce right now that's being impactful. But they, instead of just doing what everybody wanted and making it a free system, they said, well, we'll give a little, and they didn't really ask for us to give a little kind of thing, it's like, but they said, we'll kind of meet you halfway, we'll roll back, the week-long cooldown on it or whatever, and we'll put this system in, as an alternative, so it's less punishing, but still carries a certain amount of gravitas when you make a change, right? So that shows that, they're maybe coming. I don't want to say coming back because I don't really remember being as involved in game systems way back in the day, but it feels like it's a lot different from Warlords and a lot different from the way BFA launched. The whole beta, everybody bitched about Azerite armor, and they didn't really do much with it until the 8.2, right? So it seems like they're iterating faster, and I won't say anticipating, but maybe they're paying attention more to what's going on and what's being said in certain spheres or whatever, and they are.
Not to mention that they like the what was it called when you went into Nazos?
The horrific visions.
Yeah, so they're kind of testing features or a subset of future features as a feature in the content as we go along. So I think that's a great freaking idea. That's amazing that they can actually do that and still iterate on that before the next. Because I could see that even like Torghast, I could see something that they do with it in the future, the next expansion, right? That they're learning off of right now, and that's fantastic because they need that. They need the population to vet the thing to get the accurate feedback. They can't. I don't know how they pick their alpha or beta population, but it seems that we always have the cycle where we launch.
Content creators.
Oh, yeah, probably so. I mean, it's in their best interest to invite a lot of those, but at the same time, like for the sake of not being on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the first month of the expansion drop, like they need a smoother launch when it comes to, fine tuning. And we got a month of it, I think, is what we heard. But in reality, a lot of these systems, and I'm not saying it's in a bad way because I absolutely love the expansion. I think it's 10 times better than BFA.
Oh, yeah.
So far, it's about on par with probably how much fun I was having in Legion when it started. So
you got about like 3 more weeks and then you're done?
Yeah, probably. Or banned, I guess. But
you didn't get banned in Legion.
Yeah, I did.
No.
No, stop it.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to say something. Good God.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was calling Jim a lady.
This is these long locks on my chin.
Oh my God, what was my point?
You were talking about just iterating on the feedback
features.
and just, All right.
So I wanted to say something about Torghast too. Like as far as like you were talking about the iterating on stuff. And I kind of wish that they would maybe in a future iteration or something make it so that it was a way that you could level your characters. Like I would like that. Like just go in and just a solo dungeoning experience where you could just keep going and keep climbing and keep like something like they have in Final Fantasy. They have the Palace of the Dead, which is something where you level your characters. And it's an alternate path to leveling. And so that could kind of work for, like you were talking about, the more solo player base that doesn't necessarily want to do dungeons with people or doesn't.
Well, they're already halfway there with Threads of Fate too. I mean, they're already kind of showing that
sure
the ultimate world.
But maybe they don't want to necessarily just be doing world quests and stuff like that. Maybe they want to go in and try to
Yeah, no, I was just acknowledging that Blizzard recognizes that alt-friendly world. So yeah.
Well, the Maw and Torghast are not available for Threads of Fate until you hit 60, unfortunately, and it's probably because it's like Tanan Jungle and WoD. It is
tuned for that.
It's a max level zone. They have small instances that you go down and deal with when you're leveling, like sharded instances. Like when you go down and you have to rescue Denathrius or Mograine.
She has a good point though. Like at that point, it's a lot like the Torment system in Diablo 3.
Yeah.
Where like you go in and I don't see anything wrong with that. Honestly, like.
Yeah. people want to level that way. Hey, more power to them. You know, I mean,
I'd say maybe Torghast, maybe not the Maw, because then you basically have two versions of the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
I don't mean the Maw. I just mean straight up Torghast. Like you're going in and you're doing instanced content on your own. Like I'm not talking the Maw because the Maw
battleground.
Yeah, the Maw would be terrible. Like that would
The Maw
I would
should be the new epic BG.
Ooh.
No
have you
shit.
not gone down there in
War
war
mode?
mode and try to leave?
Yeah, I turned that shit off quick.
Yeah.
You can't. You can't. That's why they put that buff. As soon as you leave the refuge, you have like
10 seconds or something
no,
like
you
or
got
is it
like
a minute.
or 30 seconds where you are like
That didn't even help us that
invincible.
one day.
Well, we waited like until it was almost done before we went out, but it yeah, so that people could get out of it because people are camping the entrance. You can't even make it to the stone to leave.
Which is really, I mean,
It's asinine.
that's-
But that if you turn war mode on, if they weren't doing it, somebody else would be. One faction's going to be doing it.
That's at that point they should have the eye of the jailer should slowly tick up, so you can't sit there and camp. Instead of just having actions based on it, like really, like you should over time.
PvP content or PvP actions should trigger the Eye of the Jailer. I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that maybe not as much as killing a rare.
Or hell,
doing
even
a crest.
congregating in one area. That would be interesting.
yeah.
Having so many people congregating in one area, like, starts to raise your rate. That'd be interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, come
I mean,
on. It's like, that's the whole point, right?
Well, no,
You
it's
killed my
interesting
Blacksmith.
because
I got
Venari
my eye on you.
said that they noticed when they first came down there that there was more of them who were there, and then they thought that they were staying together would be more safer, but all it did was shine a light on them, and they ended up getting killed until Venari was the only one who was left in there.
The only one, except for the
only
one that
one.
we just say.
Sure.
Who told
The
us
only
not to trust
one.
her.
Yeah, but you know what I mean though, like so yes, it would make sense if the more people who are down there together, the
Well, like,
more
if
you're
in
like
a group.
yeah,
like
there's more concentrated anima, in that area. So I don't know.
that would be a good mechanic. I
Yeah.
guarantee you, if they implemented it, everybody would be fucking pissed because now you're discouraging group content.
That's true. You damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Well,
like honestly,
if you think about
I would
it,
definitely see it more of like a, oh gosh, what was the 8.2 area called?
Nashitar.
Yeah, that place.
Oh,
PvP
yeah.
there. I would see it more like that.
I
That's
I
quite a
think
bit of people. Like 10 plus people in one area, yeah, you got a bigger problem. Well,
I-
although I say that, but the best farming is in bigger groups in the mall. That's what makes them all fun, is playing as big groups and getting, the rep items and all that stuff. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you were to make it increase based on like a group size, I don't think that would necessarily work, because if you were going to group up to go do dailies with your friends and there's 3 dailies and it went from, 3 dailies gets you up to like rank 2 or whatever to a daily gets you like a rank and a half, and all of a sudden now you're maxed out and you don't get to finish the last daily. That would be kind of shitty, right? Because now you're...
Yeah, no, like I said, I would think it was probably more of like a PvP.
I think
thing where, like,
if they were to
tons
make
of
it
people
in
congregate in one
if
area.
you had it in war mode and you were engaged in PvP content, I think that should that should cause a slow increase.
Oh sure.
And I think that would be a decent way to, like, the more people you kill from the opposing faction, the higher your thing goes, and they count that as one of the events, and maybe that would do it. But anyway, you know what time it is, right?
It's Conspiracy Corner.
I was gonna do that, but
Aw.
nobody wants to hear me do that.
So, first up, here's this is gonna explode your brain, right? What if none of this is happening, and this is all just a vision, a sense of torture, and we're in Torghast?
Yeah, what if we never escaped the maw?
What if all of this shit that we're doing right now is not real, and we're still trapped in the maw?
That would be some amazing gameplay design.
What if this whole expansion is
And
nothing?
holy shit.
It was all a dream.
Well, so here's the thing: is that we've already heard bits about elapsed time in the Shadowlands compared to Azeroth. As soon as you go in, the NPCs already talk about feel like it's been
Months.
a long time.
And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
been
like
several. I would say from the time they were captured to the time we went in there, it was several days or at most a week or two, right? I would say that it's because it had to be after the thing was shattered. So I would probably say that it is on par with being days, right? And when we get there, they're like, how long has it been? It's been like weeks, months. We don't know. Because it's like eternity. So time is traveling faster. So there could be the whole thing where we come back to Azeroth afterwards, which doesn't really make sense because we have portals there.
So here's the interesting thing. Well, yes, you're right. That doesn't make sense. But we also know there's that escape from reality connection that they put with everything. So what if the time does stop, or time does not exist? What if time did not exist in the Shadowlands? And that supports the theory behind res runs and resurrections, right? As soon as you die, you're automatically back, but you're a ghost. You got to find your body again. But the fact is, there is a piece of time that exists between your death and your body, or your spirit being back on Azeroth, that exists. That's this cycle of the Shadowlands where you go through, and you have to, you know what I mean? Like you have to find your way back to your body through that process.
You mean? Well, I don't think that when we die on Azeroth, that our souls actually go to the Shadowlands. I think that we're kept from going
By the spirit healers?
Yeah, which because otherwise they would take us to the Shadowlands to go on and be judged by the Arbiter. But I think that
Which is what they should be doing. That's the point. The spirit healers don't actually have a lore-based job.
Right, there is no necessarily lore that we've died.
We just know that it is.
They're Kyrian, right? And they're bringing people to Ouroboros for.
But this is
sorting.
Conspiracy Corner.
You're right.
Imagine if there's that blip of time.
So once you go into the Shadowlands, time stops on Azeroth, or it slows down to the point of negligence.
there's no difference because the time doesn't exist in the Shadowlands. Okay, it just means that your soul, as soon as you died, okay, and that piece, there's no time there either, right? In the reality, this is Azeroth time. This is when you died. This is when you appeared at the spirit healer to go run back to your corpse. But inside here was where your whatever went to the Shadowlands and found its way back one way or the other. I can't explain them all. Sorry, but
well, that's a new thing, right?
No. So everybody that disconnected when they died in a raid or a dungeon,
they're in the mall.
Or they hearthed out or something. There you go. They all went to the mall. That's it.
But yeah, how messed up would that be if we get to the end of it and the end cinematic it's just it goes blank, and then all it is just two eyes opening, and we're not even
we're in
real.
a shower and it's like a Dallas type thing. Nobody's gonna get that.
Or no, maybe this is all been inside of Sylvanas' head when she was killed by Arthas.
Oh.
And so when she was killed, and then she comes and she wakes up, and all this has just been a dream. Maybe everything's just been a dream of somebody. Maybe none of this has been real. Maybe all of World of Warcraft is just
a dream.
It's the Matrix, and we wake up in a pod, pull shit out of our neck.
That'd be some crazy shit. That'd be some really crazy shit.
Introducing World of Warcraft 2. Sci-fi.
World of Psycraft.
Yep.
Give me some cyberpunk World of Warcraft. I'll take that.
Oh man.
Only done better. Um,
It'd be pretty much Warhammer 40k.
Oh
MMO,
my
I guess.
goodness.
oh yeah, get the war going.
Oh my
That'd be
goodness.
pretty
Warg.
badass.
Yeah, but that didn't. The Warhammer stuff
Not
didn't
Warhammer. Warhammer 40k. It's different.
different than the MMO.
Well, Warhammer 40k.
Fantasy.
based
They had
on
they
the
had
MMO.
MMO for fantasy.
No, World of
Warhammer, but-
Warhammer was
And-
Warhammer Fantasy.
And I don't care what anybody says. That was a good game. They had really great
we
features.
played it.
We did
Um,
play it.
It
We did
wasn't
play
bad. It's just their problem was when people leveled up, you had those big open group quests,
Hmm.
and if you were new, there was nobody there to do it with.
Yeah.
So you got screwed because there was no incentive to come back
Yeah.
and
But-
help lower level.
Well, when the
players.
game came out, that was lots of fun.
We played it.
Yep, we did.
and
We were
and
in
the
the
realm
beta
versus
and
realm,
then
the
in the-
spillover that
Yeah.
they had built into it.
We didn't
Yeah,
play
the
it that
areas with-
much, but
Because it was just a straight up PvP game, and I don't really like PvP that much. So I liked my character. She was very pretty.
she a
But
witch elf.
she was yes. But then there was the PvP stuff, and it was like, oh well, this is less fun. So we played it for a little bit. We got characters to like max level, and then we didn't really play it anymore.
The cities were very empty a lot,
Yeah.
and that felt sad. So,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
I love Warhammer. I have been involved with it in some way since the early 90s. Warhammer Fantasy, the tabletop. I used to go out to the comic book store and buy the latest, issue of White Dwarf all the time. I have like a shelf full of White Dwarfs. Great magazine. I like to read about people painting and all that stuff. I, bought paints and started painting miniatures for a little bit. Got a bunch of the army books. I used to like read it. The artwork was great. So anything that was around that I like, it was always more Warhammer Fantasy than it was 40K. But
Yep.
just because, growing up, I remember, looking at my dad's, AD&D books and all that stuff, and just dragons and wizards and all that stuff was really cool. So that's kind of what drew me more towards Warhammer Fantasy than Warhammer 40K. But that would be like I have there's like the first person shooter where you're a space marine.
Space Marine.
Yeah, I think it's Warhammer 40K Space Marine. That game is fucking amazing. With their fucking chainsaw.
No, they're
and shit.
dude. The first time I saw somebody's 40K army, they had the orc boys
Yeah.
on motorcycles, and he had their hands turned upside down. They were flipping off. And they were, like, it was so badass, and that's what that drew me into fantasy. I didn't play much, hardly at all, honestly. But I
I didn't
had
really play
started
much
a
either.
Vampire Counts
Yeah.
army here in high school.
So,
and
okay, when you got into it, was Vampire Counts a separate army versus, like, the Tomb Kings and all that stuff? Was it then?
it was sometime around there.
Because
I think it was already split.
Because
'Cause I do remember that.
that pissed me off. Because I still have the Undead book from when it was all just one. When the Undead army was just the Undead
I still
army.
had skeletons, so
Well, yeah,
I
but,
don't know. Like,
but they
the Tomb
split
Kings
it
was
out.
more like Egyptian based, wasn't it?
Right, yeah, you had the mummies and all that stuff, and then you had the vampire counts. But before that, it was just the undead army, and you had access to all that stuff to build your army. And I'm sure they split it out just to kind of expand it and make money and all that kind of stuff. But like,
Well, even Vampire Counts, I've never really been into vampire shit for the most part, but I still bought the characters
yeah,
for Vampire Counts and tried to paint them. I hated it. The zombies and skeletons, though, I loved it so much. I customized those. The zombies were the best, man. Oh my
Oh,
goodness, they
yeah.
had the coolest stuff.
I remember when the Lizardman army came out.
That
was
and the Skaven? Yeah.
Skaven, yeah, the
yeah,
rats that
no,
were by
I
the
couldn't-
warp stone.
Couldn't do them. Couldn't get into
Yeah.
them. I really wanted to be. I wanted to do dwarves. I love dwarves. Despite the fact that I don't play Alliance and WoW, but
Yeah.
my buddy had done dwarves and I didn't want to copy him. So
All right. Well, I think we should probably wrap it up now. We went ahead and we talked about some stuff with add-on creators and Curseforge and Overwolf. We talked about recent changes in Torghast and our experiences with that. We posed the question, what if this is all just a dream and it's just a torture in the maw? And then we shifted to a completely different topic about different games. But anyway, thanks everyone for listening. You can go ahead and catch us at our Twitter. It's at server_restart. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/serverrestartin, all one word. And I guess we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.